Hey guys, it is Yozora, and today we're going to talk about the brand new American Tier 9 premium cruiser, the Vallejo. Hopefully I'm not butchering that name. So, Vallejo is a bit of a tricky ship to rate. Well, first and foremost, she's incredibly different from all the other US light cruisers. As you can see here, she has absolutely no radar, and she also doesn't have access to hydroacoustic search. So you might be wondering, okay, so what are you supposed to do with this ship? Well, the name of the game is very simple. Farming. A lot of farming with HE spamming and all that lovely stuff battleship players enjoy thoroughly. The thing is that you might think, yeah, but she only has 15.5, 15.7 kilometers of range, so it's not that great for farming damage. Well, yes, but no. Because Vallejo is bringing back a consumable that we didn't see in quite a long time. It was only so far introduced with the Lazo, the Soviet cruiser, and it is the fast takeoff spotter. So essentially, it is a spotting aircraft. However, unlike the others, this one has an incredibly short cooldown of only 10 seconds. The duration is also a bit lower, it's only 60 seconds, but well, basically you have a spotter on demand. In total, you can get up to 6 charges, and from the top of my head, you can get a full duration of 7 minutes and 48 seconds of spotting with all charges. So it's more than enough in general with proper positioning to have range on wherever you want to farm. Other than a little gimmick consumable, she also has way, way, way better ballistics than the US light cruisers. The air drag is way lower at 0.2 instead of 0.3, which means that you have pretty much the same ballistics as the Soviet 152, from the Chapayev, Kutuzov and such. So even at maximum range with the spotter active, so at 18.8 kilometers, you have very little trouble to hit a target. Now, if it's a fast-moving cruiser, maybe you will struggle a bit at first, but as you can see, well, that ship is raining shells like crazy. It is the same turrets as on the Worcester. You just have a little bit slower with a little time, but it's still pretty damn high in terms of rate of fire. So you can just happily rain shells on target. And unless you're like me getting screwed in terms of fire starting chances, well, yeah, whichever ship will be on the receiving end will just turn into a floating barbecue. Like, seriously, this ship, she's only here for one thing: farming damage. Now, here I'm mostly flying battleships because that's the only thing in range, but if it's cruisers, you just melt them away, because at this tier, it's not like on tier 10 where you have uh, quite a few cruisers with an improved plating. Like, you have the Moskva, you have Petro, you have Venezia, etc, etc. Whereas on tier 9, you don't see that many, I won't say heavily armored cruisers, but, cruisers with pretty substantial armor protection. Now here you can just be more than fine with the 30mm penetration of the HE. Now, other than that, there is a bit of a compensation for having all these nice queer for HE spamming, and it's the fact that the AP shells, on the other hand, absolutely suck. The the group of the shells, so the coefficient that is part of the equation to determine the penetration of shells, is far lower than what you will see on other American light cruisers, which means that even at close range, you will struggle to get citadels on some light cruisers. If you want to be sure to get citadels on them, you firstly need them to be perfectly flat broadside. And even then, on stuff like Moskva, you will have to be at like 5 kilometers or even lower to be sure to get citadels on them. So yeah, you truly need to keep that in mind if you want to, if you end up in a situation like this. Because otherwise you'll be like, hey, it's fine, I can just get citadels on the Moskva. And then you just get shatters, and in return it demolishes you. So yeah, be very mindful of that. Otherwise, well, yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of gameplay for the Vallejo. It's not like the others which are able to closely support your destroyers with radar or even the hydro. With the Vallejo, you just left click as much as possible while raining down HE shells on whoever will be the unlucky guy in range. And here comes, in my opinion, the big problem of the ship. So she will become available with update 0.11.9 or still. And the problem is that, well, we already have so many steel ships. From the top of my head, she will be available for 11,000 steel. So of course it's already a lot cheaper than what you would find at tier 10 with Bourgogne, Stalingrad, etc, etc. But yeah, that's the problem. There are so many strong tier 10 steel ships already that unless you're like me, who's... Well, basically I'm just down to buying steel camouflages for Napoli. That's the point I am at. So in my case, it's a no-brainer. We'll just get the ship when she gets released because, yeah, sure, she just found damage, but she does it incredibly well. Like, unless you get completely screwed by RNG, she's just burning everything in sight. No, yeah, since you just saw those two salvos, armor protection wise, she's a kind of a Smolensk situation. As in, the citadel protection is pretty thin at 202 millimeters. However, the ship is pretty narrow, and the citadel itself, it's not even that big. So chances are battleships at close range, unless you get unlucky, will just overpenetrate the ship if you show a flat broadside. Now, of course, don't try this at home. Don't just try to go broadside tanking on them. You can actually angle pretty well with the Vallejo, because again, unlike the other American light cruisers, she has a 38mm deck armor on the middle section. So yeah, there is no battleship in this game that can overmatch such armor plating, at least for now. There will never be, but you would need what, something like 560mm caliber or something like that. Anyway, something really big that shouldn't exist in the first place. But yeah, Vallejo ended up being surprisingly tanky for a light cruiser. On one side, she has the well-armored weather deck to tank Battleship AP, and on the other, she has the pretty trollish Citadel that lets you get away with a few mistakes that you just saw here. So yeah, she isn't even what you would call a glass cannon. No, of course, she won't be tanking damage for days, that's for sure. Let's get things pretty clear here. But still, you will get away from things you would just never do with other light cruisers. Other than that, well, her concealment is excellent. You can get it down to 9.5 kilometers, which is actually why I am using the AVHE skill to get the increase to get well, far more damage basically. And even then, it's pretty alright. I get it to 10.7 kilometers of detection range. So still pretty stealthy. Still more than enough to sneak around to good positions. And also in terms of maneuverability, well, there is one downside. She's fairly slow with only 32 point. I think it's 32.5 knots of base speed. But at least the turning radius is pretty tight, so at least that. Also the AA, yeah, worth mentioning. Her anti-air is pretty good actually. She has booster main battery, she has the 76.2mm AA guns. Generally speaking, she will be able to shoot down planes quite easily. Especially guys, since you have no choice to take defensive AA, so don't hesitate to use it. Yeah, here as you can see, I wasn't full broadside, so the AP from the Bismarck and wouldn't have enough time to arm. Anyway, overall, yeah, I kinda recommend the ship. It is honestly pretty solid as a whole. So yeah, that's all for me guys. Yeah.